Here we are, another video on ogive seeding and why I do it. Well, things have changed a lot over the many years that I've been reloading over 50 years. Equipment has changed, rifles have changed. Here is my 7mm Remington Magnum, Sako 85, 24-inch barrel stainless steel. This rifle will shoot one MOA or less all day long, every day. Now, why do people load and why do long range shooters load by the ogive method? As you fire a lot of bullets, say thousands of bullets, your rifle wears out, your throat wears out, and then the seeding depth where your roll on your bullet, the ogive, actually touches the lands or close to the lands varies. So some people chase those lands by shooting a lot of bullets and wearing the barrel out. But as a hunter, you very rarely fire thousands of bullets unless you really want to go and chase, the championships. Things have changed so much that I shot my first elk in Australia using this, and I called him up on this. And what I shot him with, he actually came in 15, 20 yards. I called him up. What I shot him with was a 222 with a 55 grain Nosler partition bullet. And I've been using Nosler bullets ever since. I've shot wild boars, a lot of goats, sambar deer, Australian elk, the red deer, with this 222 until the laws changed and we had to use a minimum 270 caliber 130 grain, and then I bought a Sako 75 in the 270 caliber and I reloaded with 130 grain. I also reloaded a 17 ticker, which we used exclusively in foxes, but we found that the 17 ticker in windy night, misty night, raining, and the bullet would not exactly always hit the target. So I changed to a 22 Hornet. I used the 40 grain Sierra soft bullet, made an entry hole, nothing on the other side. The skin was whole, got maximum price for the skin. So I varied my technique at what I did in order to improve my accuracy and so on and shoot longer distances. Now with the 22 Hornet, we only shot up to 200 yards. We didn't go further because that was the only way you could do a safe kill. And if we didn't see a fox within 200 yards, we let it go. In those days when I was reloading my 222 for the first time, I didn't even have a weight measure. What I did, I had a case that was cut off approximately to the size, put a little handle on it, and I would scoop the powder out. And that's the accuracy with which I reloaded. Worked fine. Shot wild boars up to 100 yards all the time, or goats 100, 150 yards. The rifle was fairly accurate and it was all good. But these days we aim for a little bit more accuracy and we like to use modern scopes. By the way, there's a Swarovski Z8 coming on here on this rifle shortly, and that I will have the 3.5 length to 25, the more powerful one. This rifle can shoot a long distance. But give you an idea, factory loads and my particular rifle is the ogive, and the reloads you buy factory, do they really work? Well, they do, and you can get your 3 shots into 1 inch, no problem. But give you an idea, this is a Federal Premium 155 grain. The ogive on this in relation to my lands is 130 thou back. The Federal regular Power Shock 150 grain, and all these 4 are 150 grains, is 105 thou back of my lands. The Norma Whitetail 150 grain is 165 thou back of my lands. But my own load that I load, and this is a 150 grain Nosler partition, the I load it so it's 20 thou back off the land. So therefore, there's a lot less jump with my own loads. Now the premium, these are a bit over $60 a case for 20, so it's over $3 a bullet. For me to reload these, it works at about $1.10, no problems. Now, give you an idea in the differences, I also have a 140 grain ballistic tip bullet. These are the Nosler ballistic tips that I'm reloading now. And so I checked my Ogive to see where this particular bullet, and note there's a difference between the bullets. Here we go. Difference between these two bullets and the Ogive. This is 150 grain, this is 140. It's loader. I'm developing this load for long range accuracy, small game target shooting, just a bit of practice and so on. I want to see how these bullets perform on the smaller game. I have no problem with the 150 grain in a 7mm Remington Magnum to hit an elk 500 yards. That doesn't work. I just want to see how these do. Now the Ogive, the length of the bullet here, by the way, the Sami length for 7mm is 3.29 inches. My own load that I have reloaded 20 thou back with the 150 grain is 3.315. This one will be 3.406. So I'm going to load it back 20 thou. So my Ogive setting, when I reload these using my Frankfurt Arsenal bullet seating die that comes here, will be 3.4040, and I'll get it very accurately with that seating die. There's no problem. But what does it take to get your measurement to your Ogive setting? Well, it takes a Hornady tool like this one. I've got two, this one, and I've also got one curved one that's got a 90-degree angle. You fire your own case just by any 7mm Remington case with a bullet and powder, fully set up any bullet. Then you fire two of them in your rifle. You send them to Hornady, and they will put a thread inside for you, so I can use the OL gauge. And you put it on, you put your bullet inside, it's loose. You put it inside your chamber, you push it right up to the end firm. Then using this tool, you slowly push your bullet out to where it touches the Ogive just. If you pushed it too far and it sticks, where you actually wedged in your bullet into it. So you got to be careful you don't push it too hard. And by doing this, then you now have your setting, and you measure it using a Hornady measuring gauge for that caliber, and you can get your Ogive setting. And then that allows you to accurately load your bullet, seat your projectile to your Ogive setting and to your lens in your rifle. And that way you minimize the jump. It's not difficult, but I keep a statistic of every load that I develop. And I use an Excel spreadsheet. I don't know if you can see it. Send me a message if you want a copy of the just standard Excel spreadsheet. Gives me my magazine left. And magazine depth that you can load is fairly important. So I've measured mine. What's the maximum length? You don't want to be out in the field and feeding one bullet at a time because you put in a 175 grain bullet and you know your bullet is too long and you can't do it. So that's very important to be able to load it inside your magazine. Lucky for me, I can load any bullet that I make and measure it to the lens. I can still load it in my magazine and I will be fine. I can put 5 bullets in there. But the difference is that if you make your own, you can do it correctly, you save a lot of money, and you can measure it so that you can get your very small jump. Once you've tested that jump out, and I'm going back 20 thou, you record your velocities. You compare that against your Nosler book or your Hornady book, how a 24-inch barrel against a certain powder works out. Now I also use the Frankfurt Arsenal IntelliDropper electronic measuring. What it does, it tests the powder, gets to know the powder, and then very accurately dispenses the right powder that you want. I also record that, so now I know what bullet, what seeding, what powder, how much I've taken, what velocities I've got. I'll go to the range, 75 range, and I'll test my velocities there. Then I'll go to 100 and 200 yard range, and at the Cayley Sporting Shooter Range here in Salt Lake City, and it works out very well. For $5 a day, I can check my loads, get accurate loads, and then I can play with the Ogive setting or the length, the seeding of my bullet using the Frankfurt Arsenal seeding gauge. I can vary by 1 or 2 or 3 thou either way. I can increase the jump or I can reduce the jump until I'm happy with what result I'm getting. So I use a wooden board to spray my bullets before I full size resize them. I've got 3 factory loads here, my own load. This one's 130 thou back of the lens, this one's 105, this one's 165, mine are 20 back. So you can buy any bullet, check it with the same equipment, check it to see what is your Ogive setting on this particular bullet. You can compare those velocities and you can compare the accuracy, and then you can determine whether you want to spend $3 for a bullet, bit over $2. And these Norma 150 grain, I bought at trade shows. They were like $40 for 20. Sometimes at a trader you can buy specials like that, and so I've got 60 of these, and I think the Norma case is quite good. I'm waiting to fire these out, and then I'll check the inside of my flash holes on every one of these that I bought. I always check the flash hole, I prepare the casing, I sort them out. I don't weigh each one of them, I don't check the diameter, it's not necessary. Again, I look at this from a hunter's point of view, not a ELR or 1,000-meter competition, 1,000-yard competition, whatever. I look at this purely from hunting. I've never shot an animal past 100 yards, 100, 150 yards, that's about the maximum. So if you can't get that enough accuracy out of your load to put down a goat or a deer at 150 yards, you got to learn how to fire this thing properly. Or you might have some other problems and you really need to investigate it. Modern rifles are exceptionally good. Most of them will give you around an inch group, and on a deer, even on a whitetail, you've at least got a 6 or 8 inch diameter area where you need to hit. And if you've got a too heavy bullet that goes straight through, that's not good. If you've got a bullet that's going to expand and damage the lungs, put that hydraulic shock into the lungs, your animal won't run more than 10, 15 yards maximum. You'll never have problem finding it. The blood trail will be seriously big, and very quickly the animal will expire. So I'm more inclined to use a better expanding bullet for the distance I want to shoot. I take an example of bow and arrow hunters. They shoot their animals at 40, 30, 40, maximum 50 yards, and they still put them down. So if I can't get within 40, 50 yards, 100 yards or less, then I'm not a hunter. And this might offend some hunters, but it shouldn't really, because if you have to use a modern scope, modern rifle, heavy bullets to hit a deer 1,000 yards, you're basically chasing the biggest antlers you can find. Well, take the challenge and get to the animal and hit it. That's the way I see it. But you might see it differently, and that's okay. But this is just a quick description and quick explanation why I load 20 thou back. It gives me more accuracy. I don't have a long bullet jump. And factory load, there's a lot of variance in how they are seated. So in order to be consistent, I do my checking, I do my velocity checking, I do my load development in a very scientific way. As a computer programmer, systems analyst, I like to do it that way. So, hope you enjoyed this. Let me know. Give me a thumbs up. And until the next video, stay safe, guys.